There were legitimate concerns about New York Islanders forward Mathew Barzal after he missed so much time last year, but he's back this year and better than ever. In fact, he may be playing some of the best hockey of his career. We'll discuss the impact of Mathew Barzal and what it means for the team going forward. All that coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here. Welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And I want to thank everyone who helped make Locked On the number one sports podcasting network out there. We couldn't have done it without you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 to the modern era. So glad you could join us today to talk a little Islanders hockey, and we have got a lot to get to. We'll start with Mathew Barzal, who is playing really, really well. There was some concern about how he'd do this year based on his return from injury, his switch back to center. Whether we'd see the same player, we'll discuss the impact that he's had on this team so far this year. We'll have our weekly farm and prospects report as we check in on some of the Islanders' future stars right now. And we'll preview tonight's home game against the Boston Bruins as the Islanders' 7-game homestand enters its 3rd game. We'll also have our Islanders' birthday of the day. Let's get started with Mathew Barzal. There was concern about Barzy. One of the reasons the Islanders struggled so much offensively last year, although by no means the only reason, was that Mathew Barzal only played 30 games all year. And there's no doubt that the team missed him. Barzal is their most dynamic skater among forwards for sure, if not on the whole team. Maybe Matthew Schaefer is giving him a run for his money in that department. But he is capable, when he's on his game, of taking over the tempo and creating something where it appears that nothing is there. Mostly on the basis of his great skating ability, his ability to change directions and make great passes. And I know there have been criticisms of Barzy over the years, and some of them are legitimate. Yeah, he gives the puck up a little too much, doesn't shoot the puck enough. Certainly his work on faceoffs is not good. He's right now at 34.2%. He's basically winning a little more than 1 out of every 3 faceoffs. But let's face it, if the Islanders were to have any kind of success this year, they were going to need not just a healthy Mathew Barzal, but a Mathew Barzal who was back to being the dangerous, nearly point-a-game player that he was when he was healthy and playing his best hockey. Well, so far, we're seeing that. And while he's not quite at a point-a-game pace, Barzy has 6 goals and 17 points in 22 games. Remember, he missed 1 game after missing the team bus. He was suspended for 1 game. But bottom line, Barzy is a +7. He has 16 block shots. That's, 80%, 0.8 block shots per game almost. And he has 56 shots on goal in 22 games. That's well over 2 shots on goal per game. So Barzy is shooting the puck more often. I think he's kind of heard some of those criticisms. And while he has in the past indicated, I'm happier passing, I think I'm more effective passing than I am shooting, he is shooting the puck more. And I think it has benefited both his game and the game of his line mates. And Barzy has moved around. He started the season at center at different times. He has also played on the wing of Bo Horvat, moved back to center lately, especially after the injury to J.G. Pageau. But ultimately, regardless of who he plays with, we have seen Mathew Barzal cut down on the turnovers, increase his shots on goal, which is something we definitely needed to see. And I think there are a couple of factors that have been the big reason we've seen a return to form. Number one, obviously, he's healthy. And he is skating as well as he ever skated, and that is really good news. Number two, I think he's more confident now than he was a year ago. I think Patrick Waugh's system is ideal for a player like Mathew Barzal. Waugh wants to play up-tempo hockey. He wants to pressure the puck. He wants to move. He wants to create open ice and then take advantage of it. Well, that, to a T, is the way Mathew Barzal plays his best. And I think we've seen Barzy fit in really well. And, you know, he actually believes he's playing some of the best hockey of his career, and I don't think he's wrong. He did an interview with the Hockey News, and he said, I just think just the overall quality, my all-around play on the puck, I feel like my turnovers are probably at a career low, and chances created are as high as they've ever been as of late. I don't know what I have right now numbers-wise, but I feel like I could at least have 10 to 15 more points, no problem. But I think that's been a little bit of the story the last few years for me. But like I said, as long as we're winning, that's the only thing that matters. And I think there's one other factor that has really helped Mathew Barzal get to this higher level. And that's Matthew Schaefer. Because prior to the addition of Matthew Schaefer, there was no other player on this Islanders team who could skate with and create with Mathew Barzal as an equal. Yeah, Pierre Engvall had some speed. Other players kind of could keep up with Barzy, but the ability to process quickly, the ability to skate quickly, the ability to see the ice the way Matthew Schaefer and Mathew Barzal both can see the ice, I think has really had an impact on Barzy's play. Because especially in overtime, 3-on-3 or on the power play, all of a sudden, how many times on the power play, for example, have we seen Barzy and Matthew Schaefer pass the puck to each other? One of them goes down low, the other one covers. Or they skate past each other. One of them has the puck. And it's that motion that the Islanders' power play, for example, lacked last year that we're seeing now. And Schaefer and Barzal both know that they're not only capable of skating quickly, but of seeing things and creating things quickly. None of the other players on this roster could play at that speed and with that vision. And having a partner in crime, so to speak, is making a big impact on Mathew Barzal and Matthew Schaefer. So with these two guys, I think the whole is better than the sum of its parts. That having both of them on the ice at the same time definitely helps. And then also on the power play, we sometimes see Bo Horvat out there with Mathew Barzal. And we know the chemistry that duo has had in the past. So even if they're not line mates 5-on-5, having those two guys out there together on the power play is a big positive for the New York Islanders. And again, it helps Mathew Barzal be more productive. And it's the confidence level, the addition of Schaefer. I think the return to center has been helpful. And again, with Barzal, he just seems to be playing more consistently than he was last year before the injury, and it's great to see. So, big impact so far from Mathew Barzal, and the great thing is you get the feeling he can get even better. The more he plays with Schaefer, the more chemistry they can develop, and the fact that there are more talented players on the ice this year. Adding an Emil Heineman and a Jonathan Drouin to the forward lines helps as well. So looking forward to seeing what Mathew Barzal can do, whether he can keep this pace up and how well he can play. But he has had a big impact so far on this team. We have got more to discuss on today's show. We have our weekly farm and prospects report. How are some of the Islanders' top prospects faring, both in Bridgeport and elsewhere? We'll break all of that down. We'll also preview tonight's game against the Bruins. And for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a goaltender who had a huge impact on the Islanders in the early 2000s. Let's see if you can guess who this former Red Wings player was. All that and more next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401k, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. I love how if you are sharing accounts with a significant other, Monarch can help both of you stay on the same page, and Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Time for our farm and prospects report. We do this every Wednesday during the season, and it's always great to check in on the New York Islanders and how some of their, some of the draft picks, prospects, minor league players, junior players, overseas players are doing as the Islanders continue to rebuild the prospect pipeline and play well. We'll start in Bridgeport, where they had two games last week with mixed results. At home, first back on November 15th, they ended up facing the Rochester Americans, and the Islanders, well, they fell behind 3-1 after 20 minutes, did rally to tie it, but ended up losing this one by a final score of 5-3. Cam Thiesing got one goal there for Bridgeport. Matthew Highmore scored, and then, Matthew Highmore, he took a shot. Mark Gatcomb put home the rebound, and then Julien Gauthier ends up with a goal, but not enough as the Islanders fall to Rochester 5-3. But then they come back and beat the Americans 5-4 in the second game. And, the big game winner, Chris Terry, who is playing his 899th career AHL game. Great to get the split over the weekend. And at the very least, Bridgeport gonna fight on. And you look at the standings right now, they're sixth out of 8 teams in the Atlantic Division, 6, 9, and 2, 14 points in 17 games. There's a big gap between 5th and 6th. They're 6 points out. But hopefully Bridgeport can continue to play better hockey and string together some more wins. But we'll see how that all goes. And, well, Bridgeport's scoring leaders right now, Mathew Barzal now leading the team with 13 points in 17 games, 2 goals, 11 assists. Joey Larson leads the team with 8 goals. He has 12 points. Alex Jeffries, 12 points, only 4 of those goals. Right now, Hunter Drew, who leads the team with 54 penalty minutes. He has 5 goals and 9 points. And as far as the goaltenders go, Marcus Hogberg playing fairly well, a .292 goals against average and .893 save percentage. But Parker Gahagan is struggling. He's a .355 goals against and an .868 save percentage. So we'll see, whether or not the Islanders decide to make any changes. But ultimately, right now, the Bridgeport Islanders still trying to get more consistent. They're much better than they were last year, but they still have a ways to go. 2 games this weekend. Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, they will host the Springfield Thunderbirds. That's a 3 o'clock Eastern time start. And then Saturday, it's a home and home at Springfield, a 6:05 start. So, again, if you want to see some of the Islanders' star players, head on up to Bridgeport Friday, or you could watch both games on AHL TV. Now, obviously, the Bridgeport team, not the only source of prospects that the Islanders can keep an eye on. We got to talk about Kashawn Aitchison because he had another good week, a goal and 2 assists in 3 games. So 3 points in 3 games. For the season, he has 16 goals, 27 points in 22 games. He is playing outstanding hockey. Xavier Veilleux, the defenseman over at Cornell, had a goal and an assist in 2 games. And goaltending-wise, how about Henrik Tikkanen playing for the Worcester Railers right now? He had a .986 save percentage this week and has a .929 save percentage for the season. And again, I kind of question whether or not the Islanders maybe should put Parker Gahagan back down to Worcester and maybe bring up Henrik Tikkanen. By the way, Dmitry Gamzin out playing for CSKA Moscow in the KHL. He has a .927 save percentage for the year. He is off to a really solid start. Cole Yzerman back on the ice for BU. He played in 2 games, did not register a point, but at least he is back and healthy, and that is certainly important. Tomasz Politin added a goal in 3 games this week. He's playing very well over the course of the season. So the prospects they're getting there. They're cooking, and hopefully they can continue to do that. And again, we do this prospects report, and a shout out to Josh for helping us out every week in preparing for this. And can't say how much I appreciate all of his help throughout the season so far. So thank you, Josh. And great to keep tabs on the future of the New York Islanders. We've got more to get to today. We'll preview this important game tonight against the Boston Bruins. Plus, we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day. We'll break down what it'll take to beat Boston coming up next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. And Islander fans, you could use your knowledge of the Islanders on FanDuel. Check out the odds for tonight's game against the Boston Bruins. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, place that first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. FanDuel.com. Check it out today. And thank you again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen of the day. And thanks for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Islanders, Bruins tonight. And, this one is interesting because the Bruins have been very inconsistent as of late. They've lost 4 of their last 6. Most of the losses have been close, but the big issue for the Boston Bruins remains, goals against. They are 27th in the league in goals against. And, Jeremy Swayman has actually been playing okay. He's been solid. He's 9-6 on the year, a .279 goals against average, a .909 save percentage. But Eunice Korpisalo, the backup, he is a .343 goals against average and an .878 save percentage. I don't have to tell you about how dangerous David Pastrnak can be. He leads the team with 29 points, 11 of those goals. But how about Morgan Geekie? 17 goals, only 6 assists, so he's a Cy Young candidate. But 17 goals in 24 games for Morgan Geekie, and his shooting percentage right now, 26.2. He has been dangerous, to say the least. Now, because this team is struggling, the Boston Bruins did change their line combinations over the course of practice on Tuesday. Marco Sturm looking for a spark. So it's Pavel Zacha centering Mate Blumel and David Pastrnak on the top line. Elias Lindholm, Marat Kuznetsov, and Morgan Geekie on the second line. Fraser Minton, Tanner Jeannot, and Mark Kastelic on the third line. And from left to right on the fourth line, Alex Steeves, Sean Kiraly, and Mikey Isamont. On the blue line, Nikita Zadorov and Jonathan Aspero are the top pairing. Hampus Lindholm and Henri Jokiharju are the second pair. Mason Laurie and Andrew Peak are the third pair. Now, we'll see whether or not these line combinations end up holding up, but that's what they went with at practice on Tuesday. Right now, on IR, Victor Arvidsson, Casey Middlestat, and Jordan Harris. Meanwhile, Charlie McAvoy, who is one of their better players on defense, he is out of the lineup. We'll see whether or not he will be able to return. But, McAvoy second on the team in assists, and they would miss him. Special teams have been a big part of the Bruins this year. They've worked out well. Boston 2 games over NHL 500 at 13-11. A lot of people had them picked down near the bottom of the standings. Their power play is top 5, 4th in the league, 25.6%. And the PK is 10th in the league at 83%. So, again, hopefully, the Islanders can stay out of the penalty box. That will be one of the keys. And then Pasta and Geekie, they're splitting them up. If if they do stick with these line combinations. And now we have to see, whether the Islanders can handle that dynamic duo. And let's get some goals. The concern is that the Islanders only have one goal over their last two games. You don't count the shootout goal. So the Islanders need to get their offense back and playing at a high level. And this Thanksgiving Eve game should be a good one for the New York Islanders. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, well, today is the 53rd birthday of former Islanders goalie Chris Osgood, the native of Peace River, Alberta. A third-round pick by the Red Wings back in 1991, made his NHL debut with Detroit during the 93-94 season, won 2 cups with the Wings, and then joined the Islanders before the 2001-2002 season, got off to a red-hot start on Long Island and had a 2.50 goals against and a .910 save percentage over the entire season. But maybe the first 8 or 9 games he played as an Islander, he was on fire. Was traded to the Blues late in the 2002-2003 season, then returned to Detroit, won another cup with them in 07-08, hung up his skates after the 2010-2011 season, played 744 career NHL games, a career goals against of .249 and a .905 save percentage. One of his better games as an Islander, how about October 6, 2001? The Islanders head south to face the Florida Panthers. Chris Osgood, the Wizard of Oz, in goal for the Isles. Roberto Luongo, the former Islander, in goal for Florida. And in this game, the Islanders get goals from Alexei Yashin, Mark Parrish, and Sean Bates. They blank the Florida Panthers 3-0, a 31-save shutout for Chris Osgood in this game. Osgood, look, the Islanders surprised a lot of people his first year with the team, making the playoffs when not a lot of people expected them to. And one big reason they did was Chris Osgood. He was only an Islander for a little less than 2 seasons, but he definitely was a key reason that this team returned to prominence in the early 2000s. I want to thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until the Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. If you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for a little instant insight and analysis. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways from tonight's game against the Bruins, and we'll talk a little bit about some things that New York Islanders fans have to be thankful for. Yes, it's Thanksgiving, but yes, we will have an episode, so make sure you join us for that, and hopefully the Islanders get back on track tonight. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.